The Zacks rank, value, momentum, growth, and income all factor into Zacks rank buys.
Airlines and a commodity company represented on the value radar this time around. Our value strategist, Tracey Ryniec, is going to tell us exactly why. And so we'll start with the airline, because you've been looking a lot at those lately.
A lot of them. They're all values right here, and they all have the really good ranks of 1 or 2. So.
And JetBlue is no exception.
Nope. I actually haven't covered this one, so I picked a new one.
Okay.
I'm a little jealous of the JetBlue people, though, because here in Chicago, we don't really get to fly as much on the JetBlue. And their main hub is out of New York, and they fly, obviously, cross-country, but they're also in Latin America and the Caribbean. They just added flights to Grenada down in the Caribbean. It would be nice to have similar in Chicago, like just putting the word out there for all the other airlines. We want to go to these places too, but this is an area of growth. A lot of the airlines are growing a lot in Latin America and obviously also the Caribbean, and JetBlue is tapping into that. So not only, you know, do they have they've added a little bit of hubs in the, or flights in the U.S. too. I think they're adding Cleveland, and I think it was like Reno or somewhere in Nevada.
Okay.
So they are still expanding in the U.S. too, but a lot of these airlines are seeing bigger business down to the south. And you know, JetBlue also has the fuel.
Right.
They have been hedging. They hedged a little over 20% last quarter, but they said this first quarter will be 20% hedged. They've hedged 16% for the year. So, you know, they're being still a little cautious. I put up the estimates. You can see them rising here dramatically. I mean, they're supposed to grow earnings this year by 126%.
I was going to ask you about that, if I was seeing correctly.
Yeah, some is the fuel. They're also keeping the costs down. The airplane fares haven't really fallen.
Budged, no.
And they have, you know, full loads here. They're flying, you know, full planes. One thing to watch with them, though, they did kind of warn when they had their earnings report about the winter storms out east, because New York City's their hub. They also have a lot of flights out of Boston.
Right.
Since they reported, it's gotten worse, those, you know, the poor people out there. So it could impact first quarter a little bit on the earnings because the number of flights that are being canceled and have to be rerouted. But we saw this last year when there was really bad weather in 2/3 of the country in the winter, beginning of the winter months.
The polar vortex.
Yeah, we had the polar vortex,
Right.
a lot of snow again, and that, you know, it works its way out of it, but you could see a little bit of, we might see a little bit of estimate revisions here with some of these storms going on. But look at the chart, it's near, you know, multi-year highs here, but it's still only trading around 10 times, which isn't, it's not one of the more expensive airlines. So I still see some room to run. You got growth, you have some good value, and they are expanding into these, you know, newer markets where they might be able to see even further growth. So I do like the airlines.
Have more altitude to gain.
They may.
All right. Well, you know, the commodity picture isn't real bright these days, but you say that is not the case with Agrium,
right,
which is a commodity-related company.
Yeah, a couple years ago covered a lot of these kinds of companies. Agrium is agribusiness, I like to call them, but they're fertilizers. They do nitrogen, the potash, and the phosphate. So they do all 3 of the big fertilizers. Plus, they have the agribusiness side with this retail segment where they actually sell seeds, crop protection, the fertilizer, and other things to help farmers in North and South America and also in Australia. So when one area isn't doing quite as well, hopefully the other area is. You're always going to be planting. Farmers are going to need to protect those crops.
Somehow, right?
Yeah, so the retail side has kind of boosted them when the fertilizer wasn't doing as well. Potash prices were at record highs just a couple of years ago. They crashed in 2013.
Yep.
Nitrogen prices haven't been quite as bad of crashes, but that has also come down. We're maybe seeing a bottom here in some of the fertilizer prices, and the companies are starting to basically see that, and you can see it in the earnings. This year's not so great again. It's another decline of about 26% on earnings compared to 2013. But next year, the analysts, you can see, are looking pretty bullish here, and you can see that it's going to be maybe almost 40% earnings growth in 2015. Agrium hasn't reported earnings yet. They're expected to on February 23rd, I think it is.
Okay.
So we'll hear more from them then. But on January 22nd, they did raise their dividend payout ratio. They were paying out 25 to 35% of their free cash flow, and now they're going to pay out 40 to 50%. That's bullish. They must be seeing something kind of decent. It already has a 3% yield. They've been basically paying shareholders to just sit and wait, because you can look at this chart. It hasn't really done anything in the last 2 years. Has gotten the spike as the story with the fertilizers has gotten better. Trading around 14 times, so it's not super cheap here, but it is a value stock with a better outlook going towards the future. They're based in Canada. They're Calgary-based. I still do like the farming area, even though on the equipment side, things don't look so good because the farmers have already bought enough equipment to last them for the next couple of years. So that cycle is on the downward slope. But fertilizers and the seeds and all of that, still some demand for that, and a well-run company like Agrium, something you might want to check out if you're interested in that area.
All right, do you own either one?
I do not.
All right, and on that happy note, I'll remind you that if you're not over at Zacks.com yet watching this video, if you're watching it in syndication, get on over to the homepage where you can link to more stock picks and more stock picking strategies. With Tracey, I'm Terry Ruffalo.